this video, we're going to go over how is it that we can find the solution of a system of equations using substitution. So we're going to start with our first. So remember, this is a part 2 because there is a previous one where the examples are a lot easier. So our first example is 3x plus y equals negative 5 and negative 2x plus 3y equals 18. So this is my first equation, this is my second equation. And the way that we are going to follow along is going to be following 3 simple steps. Number 1, we're going to isolate. Number 2, we are going to substitute. And number 3, we are going to solve. So in this case, like contrary to the previous video, none of my equations have a variable that is isolated, either x or y is not alone. So that's going to be our first step, isolate. So I'm going to pick my first equation for the isolation, step number 1. My equation is 3x plus y equals negative 5. And I need to isolate, which means leave one of the variables alone. In this case, I'm going to leave the variable y alone. Why? Because it's a lot easier. The only thing that I have to do is cancel the 3x and I'm done. So, how do I cancel this 3x with a negative 3x? And what I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay? So, the 3x's cancel here. And I cannot add on the other side, so this is going to be negative 3x minus 5. Now this is my isolation. This is my value of y. But why is it that I need to know the value of y when I still don't get a number? Because this is what is going to help me do my second step, the substitution. So since I used the first equation to isolate, now I'm going to look at the second equation, step number 2. Okay, this is negative 2x plus 3y equals 18. Okay, now that I know what the y value is, I can substitute this value for the variable for the value, negative 3x minus 5. I know that this is y. So this is the way that it would look. Negative 2x plus 3. And then my substitution, instead of y, always we use parentheses to substitute. Negative 3x minus 5 equals 18. Okay. So now we're going to do negative 2x, and that 3 times negative 3 is negative 9x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15 equals 18. So now I'm going to continue and my equation. So negative 2x and negative 9x is negative 11x. Minus 15 equals 18. And now I'm going to add 15 and add 15. Negative 11x equals 33. At last, I need to cancel my negative 11. How? Dividing. Divide by negative 11, divide by negative 11. X equals negative 3. So here I have my x value. I am yet to find my y value, but I'm going to move now to my last step, which is solve, which is what? This equation will guide me straight to the y value because it says the y equals negative 3x minus 5. But now that I know x, I can substitute there and solve. So this is the way that it would look on your third step. We have y equals negative 3x minus 5. That is the equation that I found when I isolated. And now I'm going to say y equals negative 3. And I know my x value. My x value is negative 3. So that's going to be negative 3 minus 5. Y equals negative times negative positive, 9 minus 5. Y equals 4. So here I have my x value. Here I have my y value. So that tells me that my solution is negative 3, comma 4. We're going to do one more example. This one right here. Let's review our 3 steps that we're going to follow. First, we isolate. Then we substitute. And at last, we solve. Okay. So we are going to start with the isolation. I have 2 equations, 7x minus y equals negative 1 and negative 5x plus y equals 3. I am going to pick the second one to isolate. Why? Because the y is alone, yes, just like in the first one, but the y is positive, so I don't have to worry about canceling that negative sign right there. So I'm just making it easier. Not that I cannot use the other one, I'm just making it easier for myself. Step number 1, we're going to use the first equation, negative 5x plus, the second one, plus y equals 3. And we are going to isolate, meaning I'm going to leave my y alone. So in this case, I need to cancel the negative 5x with a positive 5x. Positive 5x. So the x's are going to cancel on this side, and here I'm going to have 5x plus 3. So there is my isolation. So this is like a equation that I came up with where y was alone using one of the 2. In this case, I used the second one. Now I have an equation where the y is alone, is isolated. Okay, now we're going to go to number 2, substitute. So my equation that I'm going to use is the first one. If I use the second one to isolate, I have to use the first one to substitute. You never use the same equation for these 2 steps. You have to use different ones. Okay. So this is my equation, but now I'm going to substitute because I know now that the y is equal, or the y variable is equal to 5x plus 3. So this is going to look like 7x minus, always parentheses, 5x plus 3 equals negative 1. Okay, now we're ready to start following my equation. So here, don't forget this is a negative 1 that multiplies everywhere, okay? So negative 1 times 5x, negative 5x. Negative 1 times 3, negative 3. And don't forget to drop your 7x that was there from the beginning, equals negative 1. Now we're going to combine terms. 7x minus 5x is 2x minus 3 equals negative 1. And now I need to cancel the 3. So that's going to be 2x equals 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 1. So we found our first member of the solution. My x value for the solution is 1. I know that. But I still need to find my y value. And for that, I'm going to use my last step, solve. So here I'm going to use the equation y equals 5x plus 3, the one that I found. Why? Because if this equation already says y equals, in the moment that I substitute x, that I just find out, I can immediately know the y value without any more trouble. So that's why we do it that way. So step number 3, this is y equals 5x plus 3. But now I know that my x value is 1. So I'm going to substitute that. And this is going to be y equals 5 parentheses, and we always put the 1, plus 3. So this is going to be 5 times 1, 5, plus 3, y equals 8. So now I know the x of my solution and the y of my solution. So my solution is complete. The solution for this system is 1, 8.